welcome to the program. Our guest needs no introduction, Sam Wood.
Hello, David. Lovely to see you, mate. And I've just found out I'm your first ever guest on what I'm sure will be a very successful podcast, so I'm honoured.
Indeed, and we've known each other for a long time, and
have.
things have obviously evolved. As you know, this program is about health and longevity, and you've really evolved into becoming one of the best known fitness gurus in the industry. So I wanted to ask you a few questions about sort of health and longevity. I guess the first question is that now you've got you've got a few kids,
Yeah.
you're busy, your business going really well. How do you find the time, and what do you do for your health?
It's a great question, isn't it? I always used to think that I had a really high degree of understanding and empathy for my clients who were parents or older. And I think looking back, I had a way to go. I definitely have shifted my own mindset when it comes to training others that are getting a bit older, or training myself as I'm now in my 40s, that it's about training smarter, not harder. I think that's probably the best and most important message that you need to tell yourself. So, I used to think it was imperative to do an hour and a half in the gym. I used to think it had to be high intensity all the time. Now I just make sure I do 30 minutes a day of either core functional work or strength work. Mm-hmm. And from a cardiovascular perspective, the intensity and the impact drops, but I make sure I get my steps up, or I do a bike ride, or I do a swim. And for me, it's about, I've stopped training for how I look. I mean, there's still a level of vanity there. I'm only human, but, it used to be all about six packs and biceps and, protein shakes. It's now about how I feel, moving better, and, having the energy to keep up with my little crazy kids.
Absolutely. The question that I have for you, you've mentioned what you train. So you're a little bit younger than me, although you're obviously trying to imitate my facial hair.
That's right. You are my hero in every sense of the word.
A younger and better version of me. But I'm 56. What sort of exercise I should be doing at 56? How often? Because I find that a lot of personal trainers put you through the same programs when you're 21 or you're 55. How should that be different for someone who's over 50?
So firstly, I agree with you. I think many trainers make the mistake of feeling like they have to flog the pants off you for it to be a worthwhile session and for them to have succeeded in some way. And it's absolutely not correct. I think you definitely need to be doing some form of resistance training. As you get older, your bone density decreases. You can lose a lot of muscle, then your metabolism slows down. There's a whole bunch of consequences there that come with that. So you need to stay strong, you need to stay mobile, and of course you need to look after your heart. And slow, steady state cardio will do the trick, but I think it's also important, and you're the longevity expert, not me, but I've listened to a lot of really interesting stuff on still suggesting that you should do some high, not impact, but intensity cardiovascular exercise, even if it's just little intervals for a 10-minute burst at least a couple of times a week to really wake up the system and keep you young at heart.
Sam, what about weight training after 50?
You have to do it. I mean, resistance training, whether it be body weight, bands, balls, bars, dumbbells, but resistance training is critical. You need to keep your strength up, keep lean muscle on, and keep your bone density high. And I think the people with the best quality of life later in life are those that have kept training the whole way through. You know a trainer who only recently retired from my gym, Jan Fraser, who is 80.
Yeah.
She only retired from my gym 2 years ago. She still does resistance training every day, and she lives the life of a 50-year-old. She goes downhill skiing and cycling and stand-up paddleboarding and literally lives the life that most people a generation younger than her do because she hasn't stopped.
Yeah, I totally agree with you. I think it's really all about aging well.
Yep.
At the moment, there's a number of things that we can do to, I guess, to improve our biological age.
Yes.
Sam, what about women versus men? Are there sort of different exercises that women should do versus men? What are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, it's really interesting.
And once again, sort of looking after the age of 50.
Yeah, I mean, fundamentally, no. I mean, you still should have strong legs, a strong core, good posture, and good upper body strength. I mean, really, no. I mean, there's no reason women shouldn't be doing chin-ups and bench press and squatting and lunging and, fundamental compound movements will absolutely work, I feel, for both. I don't know, do you agree with that? Do you think gender-wise there should be a split? I'd be really interested in what you think.
Look, I'm not an expert on fitness. I agree with you. I think there are similar exercises. I was also just thinking, like, in terms of fitness, because women, I think, tend to do more Pilates and yoga rather than men. I'm not sure why that is.
Yeah, and you know what? Men should do it more. I think that's the stigma. I mean, you look at the pinnacle of sports people and, the AFL footballers and this kind of thing, they have woken up to the fact, Richmond Football Club would be doing Pilates and yoga once a week. And they don't care about the stigma that this is more popular for women. They have realised that flexibility, mobility and getting strong, deep core muscles enhances athletic performance, and it's all about performance. Whether you're trying to play football at the elite level or be in the Olympics or just get out of bed more easily and move better and feel better, it's the same principles. So, slowly but surely, that's just a stigma. A good friend of mine has just opened a Pilates studio that's a combination of rowing and Pilates called Strong. And it's very much designed to make Pilates more appealing to men. And it's really starting to take off because of the way, from a marketing perspective, he's positioned it differently. And the fact he's combined it with some lower impact but high intensity cardio exercise. It's a really interesting concept.
Yeah, I think it's a great concept. I think it's a very interesting concept.
Yeah, it's starting to explode.
Sam, someone who's, say, over 50 in terms of exercise, how often should we exercise? Should we exercise 3 times a week?
Yeah, it's a good question. I mean, I'm a big believer in moving your body every day. I think from a mental perspective, energy perspective, and this is the thing. As we get older, particularly over 50, typically we have more time and have more money. Not everybody, but that's the trend. So use it. You're in your 30s and you've got 3 kids under 5 and you're stressed. Exercise can be the thing to go by the wayside. Once you get to that next stage of life, get a personal trainer, join a gym, take up golf, whatever it is, but try and move. And that doesn't mean flogging yourself every session, but getting some blood flow, getting outdoors, getting the endorphins pumping. I'm a huge believer that you should move your body every day. I'm a huge believer that variety is a really good thing. The more you spice it up and change things up and don't necessarily do the same thing every day, the better your body will respond to that, probably mentally and physically. And yeah, as you get over 50, definitely try and move your body every day, and a few resistance sessions, a few higher intensity sessions, a few lower intensity sessions.
Sam, mental health has been in the spotlight for a long time, but particularly with the pandemic. So 2 questions, I guess. One is, with the pandemic, how do you think sort of the exercise and the fitness has evolved? And I guess my second question, how important is mindset, with this sort of, I guess, mental health? I guess my question is, how does sort of exercise affect mental health?
Yeah.
And how important is sort of mindset in terms of maintaining exercise and motivation.
And
So
good
they're
habits,
really
yeah,
they're really
yeah.
5 questions.
It's 5 questions there, David. I'll see if I can break that down. Well, I mean, the first question was how has the fitness landscape sort of changed with the pandemic? And there's been a dramatic shift in digital fitness, at-home fitness, online fitness, whatever you want to call it, that I'm sure there'll be a bit of a normalisation back to gyms and that kind of thing, particularly in other countries where the pandemic was far worse than here in Australia. But it's here to stay. It's really a 5 to 7 year acceleration of where the industry was probably heading anyway. People love to train at home. It's very convenient. There's a lot of research to suggest that home workouts get a lot more consistency than gym workouts because you've got a lot less barriers when you can roll out of bed and just get it done on your bedroom floor or lounge room floor. So the first part of your question is it's here to stay. How does mindset or how does the connection between our mental health and exercise? Look, there's a huge connection, and it's kind of what comes first, the chicken or the egg, I think, because, people sort of say to me, you exercise because you're motivated, and I sort of say, I actually exercise to get motivated. I mean, nothing makes me more energized, productive, happy, even calm than getting the endorphins pumping and doing some kind of exercise in the morning. And then I keep that momentum going until it becomes a habit. So, where I see people struggle the most, irrespective of age, is when they wake up every day and they say to themselves, I'm only going to exercise on the days that I am motivated. Because the reality is, even for the most motivated people, that's very rarely. You're such a pragmatic person. You exercise because you know it's what you need to do. You've got a great deal of education in the human body, which is where not everyone has that level of knowledge, but we clean our teeth in the morning and before we go to bed because it's just what we do. We don't have a battle with ourselves with the internal monologue going on about dental hygiene and the benefits. We just wake up, we put toothpaste on our toothbrush and away we go. And that's ultimately where you want to get to with exercise. And you just need to bottle that feeling of how good you feel when it finishes, because if you can bottle that feeling and remind yourself how good it's going to feel when you get it done, you'll get it done more days than not. And a rule of mine is just do 5 minutes, because it only takes 5 minutes for the endorphins to kick in, and it's almost guaranteed, I would suggest, that you'll get to the 5 minute mark and you'll keep doing and do more.
Sam, just briefly wanted to touch on nutrition. Of course, with Sam 28,
Yeah.
a big part of it is recipes and
Yes.
nutrition as well. If you could maybe tell our viewers 3 things about nutrition which you think are, most important.
Well, I go by the acronym JERF, which is Just Eat Real Food. So cutting out as many refined sugars and highly processed foods as you can and getting back to basics. Keeping hydrated. I'd suggest trying to drink 3 litres of water every day would be my next one. And what else? What would be my third rule when it comes to nutrition? Probably, you want to, carbs are not the enemy, but we all eat too many carbs, particularly refined sugars and highly processed carbohydrates. So less carbs, but not no carbs. Good quality protein and healthy fats, your avocado and your good oils and that kind of thing. If you get, and effectively try and have 3 meals a day where that's the balance or that's the breakdown in your bowl or on your plate. If it's some eggs with some wheat toast and, maybe even a little bit of bacon, and then it's, a salad with some chicken in it, and then dinner might be some fish with some vegetables. If you're, and maybe some rice or some grains, if you're getting that balance in most meals throughout the day, it's very, very hard to go wrong. People overthink it, where bombarded by marketing material out there that can be very persuasive and, kind of lures us into traps that we don't necessarily want to fall into. And we're very, very busy, and, taking care of yourself from a food perspective does take a level of sort of preparation and organisation.
Absolutely. I personally find diet's extremely confusing.
They are, yeah.
From various experts, there's intermittent fasting, there's low carbs, there's keto diets,
yeah.
Mediterranean diet. Do you have any strong feelings about one particular type of diet versus you personally?
Yeah, I mean, it's interesting because there's actually so many parallels between them all, that they're all sort of 70% the same with a little 30% marketing kicker, that we tend to fall into. But I mean, the reason my rules were the way they are because it's sustainable and it's not extreme. There's a lot I like about paleo, but I think they take it too far. There's a lot I like about keto, but I think they take it too far. Intermittent fasting, I think, from a practicality perspective, is fantastic because it gives us structure. 2 or 3 meals in an 8-hour window is a really good way to look at it. The problem is, I think people, which solves a big problem, and that is we eat too much. Like a lot of us are overweight purely because we just overconsume and don't move enough. The calorie balance is all out of whack. So, I try and take the good things from all of them and packages into that sort of JERF philosophy. I mean, the reason 28 is so popular is we actually give you the eating plan, because there's so much educational material out there that we should all be experts, but there's too much. And as you said, it can be bloody confusing. So stripping it back down to basics, giving people healthy breakfast, healthy lunch, healthy dinner, couple of coffees is okay, alcohol in moderation is okay, keep your water up, and you'll be in good stead.
And Sam, last question, which I ask all our guests. If you would have one advice on how to live longer and aging well, what would that be?
Look, I'm torn because there's a lot I would probably suggest in the mental space around happiness, but if I can only have one, I think it'd just be keep moving your body, because if we don't move it, we lose it. How's that?
It sounds great. Yes.
Simple, but very, very true.
Simple and effective. Yeah. And thank you very much for your time.
Absolute pleasure, mate.
Great.
Fantastic. Thanks for having me.
Thank you.